Patience, everyone. I'm Robin, and this is Lisa, my sister. We are JoAnn's granddaughters through her awesome son, Frank, right there. So we really appreciate you all being here to celebrate JoAnn's life and remember her. And we'd actually like to start with a scripture. So.
We're going to be reading Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1 through 8. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven.
A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted.
A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up.
A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance.
A time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing,
a time to get, and a time to lose, a time to keep, and a time to cast away,
a time to rend, and a time to sow, a time to keep silence, and a time to speak,
a time to love, and a time to hate, a time of war, and a time of peace.
Now we'd like to introduce her daughter Margaret, who I'm pretty sure all of you know. What you might not know is Margaret has done a lot of work taking care of Grandma Jo these past few years and making sure that she could stay at home comfortably and with dignity. Thank you. Just bounce over.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for coming. It's amazing to see this many people and sweet faces and people that I haven't seen since junior high and high school. And the love I've got in here is just beautiful, and I want to thank you all. And Mr. and Mrs. Graham, or Jim's parents, came out because we spent a lot of time at their house, and Mom loved to have fun over there. So anyways, and my daughter Grace. For those of you who don't know, my mom was born in 1936 and she was 2 pounds 3/4 of an ounce. She wasn't meant to make it. They put her on a counter and my great grandmother went in and she goes, "You put that girl back in the incubator, I'll have all your jobs." And Mom made it. She got through, and she had some dementia, but that was what made her fun and quirky, and sometimes annoying, but you know, we loved it anyway, because it was her. She grew up, and then she used to go. Everybody knows she loved to dance. That was her biggest thing. She loved to go to the USO and dance. We danced in the living room with Janet and Richard so many times, listening to YouTube.
Good times.
God, that was fun.
Good times.
We had her going and rocking, and she never stopped. And what I created here today is, it's in honor sort of the Dia de los Muertos, which is it's a Mexican tradition where you bring back your loved one. And it's not exactly right, but it's a table honoring the things that were Mom and the things that she loved. And then the marigolds symbolically bring them home because they're so fragrant that they would line them from the cemetery to the house so that the loved one can find their way home. So I put them out here so Mom could find her way here this afternoon.
Oh.
So let me tell you a few things that are up. Oh wait, first let me go back. She loved dancing at the USO, and that's where she met my dad. She was standing by the jukebox and he said, "Those pretty little legs standing by the jukebox and those blue eyes had me." And because of that, Frank, my brother Dan couldn't be here. He's in Tennessee right now, but we love him. And my nieces are here all the way from Maine. Anyways, so she had a good life with grandchildren and lots of love and family. and my son Jamie, and my daughter Grace. Okay, so let me tell you about the things on the table real quick, and I'll try not to be too long. Mom's purse, you have to love that. It's red with the jaguar prints. That's what she was always with. Ah, my papers are blowing. Cookies. Yep. We sustained her with these for a year almost.
I'm taking those home with me.
I know you are. Hershey bars. Every time we went to the store, she was like, I want a Percy bar. I want a Percy bar. Okay, Mom, I'll get you one. Even though there's 20 in the cupboard. She loved grits. She could not get enough grits. In fact, the lady at her church said, she goes, you know, Margaret, your mom really wants grits. And I went, I have a ton of them in the cupboard. She's just telling you that so that you'll make them for her. Elvis. You know it. She was so in love with him. Everywhere I looked in that house when I first got there was Elvis boxes.
You know what she did at home?
What?
She had a picture of Elvis Presley in the ceiling.
Oh, that's right. She had a picture of Elvis on the ceiling. And then she had those sheets, the Elvis wall hangings. She had one back to back in the bedroom, so it looked like Elvis had a third eye when the sun came in. I loved it. I have the Virgin Mary up here because everybody knows that my mom told the story of when she saw the Virgin Mary. And when I was a kid, I was kind of embarrassed by it because it made her sound weird. But you know what? Who's to say she didn't see the Virgin Mary to comfort her and to take her to places she needed to be? Her sewing kit. Her sewing kit. She loved to sew. She even sewed me a dress out of upholstery swatches that the neighbor had given us from across the street.
Oh.
And one of my friends' moms remarked that it was like the Dolly Parton song, it was my coat of many colors. Because it was hideous. It was a tube with straps. But everything was sewn with love. It was so fun. I mean, no, not then, but... Here's my mom. Here's the love mom. I just have her baby picture. I have her hat.
Nice.
And she loved her cowboy hat. And she was all about jewels. And I can't tell you how many times I had to fight Grace and my mother and take them away from each other because they were stealing all the beads from each other. And Mom would steal Grace's baby dolls and hide them under cupboards so that she could keep them for herself. But she loved her granddaughter, and it was fun. I know I'm going to forget so many things and stories to tell you. I don't want to, but as we go through the day, I can, if you want to ask any questions about pictures on the boards, I can share a story for each picture. Let me check my notes. So there was one other story I did want to tell, and that was when she was a kid. She wanted a job when she was 18 or 19. So, hi Grace, come on back, girl. Thank you. So she went and she found us a job, and she was a bunny rabbit in the limo at Macy's. Or they picked her up with a limo, and she was the bunny rabbit walking outside of Macy's. So,
I can see that.
Yeah, you can see that. That's totally Mom. Alright, so I am going to now offer, if anybody wants to come up and say anything. I know my brother's kind of shy. If my dad wants to say anything, if anybody wants to say anything. Oh, but I do have to say this. I want to thank Jim for being there for the last 4 years because together we took good care of Mom. And he's been there, right there with me till the end, and I'm thankful for that. So, would anybody like to come up and share anything, a story, or anything? If you don't, that's okay.
I do.
Terry does. This is my cousin Terry. Our moms are sisters, and her mom also is going through the same thing right now. Okay. Oh, and Dad. Take turns, you guys. You can both share. Please.
Well, thank everybody for joining us to pay tribute to this fine lady, JoAnn. She was my first wife, the mother of my children. I love her. And I met her at the USO in 1959. And since that time, it was very much part of my life. It's through the years that we have our children, we live in happiness. For reasons of the world, we got separated, but we never left each other. We continue being our good friends and the parents of our children. I thank her for all the time that she made me happy. For the time that she was my wife, my friend, and the mother of my children. Thank God. And I thank God for giving me that opportunity, for giving me that lady, fine lady, as a company in my life. Thank you, everybody. And I love my children. And I love you. And may God bless you all. Bye.
Thank you, Dad.
Well, I must say that I told Margaret I wasn't going to speak at this event until she started mentioning things that were so common that I couldn't help but have to get up and say something. The beads. My mother and the children that live with her, of the caregiver, constantly fight over trinkets of this nature. And in fact, my mother would go in the room of the little girl who was like 13 when she started and steal her clothes and wear all her jewelry. And she would come home from school and there would be a huge argument about that was my stuff and you can't wear it, and it just cracked me up that they have this in common. And I have also a tacky jewelry thing. Like, you know, of course I would wear this.
Yes.
And my mother would have worn this.
Gracie.
Just the fact that they grew up, even though we grew up on opposite sides of the United States of America, because my family is from Florida, and they lived in California, it never would, I would never think that it would be so common.
So similar.
So, yeah. This.
It's all melting.
My mother had like a sweet thing, and she would just eat sweets all day long, and she would not ever eat any real food. I'd cook and cook and cook. Just couldn't get her to eat anything but sweets. She wasn't a religious woman, but she did cuss up a storm. I think that's where I get that from. And, excuse me, my whole wardrobe. Excuse me. Okay, so I have to, you know, mention that. And just the fact that she was always so sweet and kind and loving and caring. And she would just pat me. And, you know, I got to see her before, a month before she died.